What is up, guys? It's Jake from the Sanctum Squad. All three of us attended a regional yesterday. Two of us actually topped. I came second and Liam came sixth. Liam playing Droitron, I played Swordsoul-Tenyi. So I'm just going to go over my deck profile. I think it's pretty close to being correct at this point. So there's not a lot I want to change about it, but there is like one specific card in the deck that I do want to talk a lot of trash about because I hate it. But yeah, I'm going to get you straight into the profile. So for the main deck, I played 3 copies of Ecclesia. I know a lot of people like mess around with like the ratios of this card, but I think it's just too good when you go second. It like really does help you like break through the boards. Gives you like 2 activations basically of like both Moe and Toya, and you don't get that unless you go through like Ecclesia. You got 3 Moe obviously. 2 Toya. This is something like new in my list. I used to play 3. I would still play 3, but I really wanted to play a very specific spell card in this deck for this event anyway. And like Toya is one of the cards that you can cut to be able to like accommodate that space. I played 3 copies of Longwan. I think this is probably a card that you could probably play 2 of. I think it's just fine though. Like you just open live all the time if you just like play like multiples of like all of this. Just not too out of the ordinary. 3 copies of Ashuna. Like my 10-year package was quite large this time, so it was like 3 Ashuna, 3 Vishuda, and then we do play the 2 at Horror this time. I am playing like the Vessel card, the spell card, so it does make the Ad Horror like a little better. But this is like absolutely like the worst card in the deck. But I think the problem with this card is that when you cut this card, your deck becomes very 2D. You can become very normal summon reliant because you actually just like you can't consistently make a level 8 before your normal summon. Which does kind of suck. So for that reason I do think that like this card is pretty important. But yeah, that's like if I could cut like just one card just because I think it sucks, it is this card. I will definitely try the Heavenly Circle card over this at some point, but like I just don't really feel the need to change that too much because it is like working. And then I did main deck Protoss. For yesterday's tournament, this card did like kind of underperform for me, but like for all of my experience of like playing this deck with this card in the main deck, it is like in general like, I just wouldn't cut this card because it does come up like too much, and it sort of like auto wins like the game ones and stuff, like especially when you do know what everyone is playing, which you like it's not even hard to do, especially when you go even when you go to like a regional. By like the second round, you probably have a good idea of what every single person like on the top tables is playing, so you don't really need to worry about not knowing what your opponent's playing for this card's like what to declare. For the spells, we obviously played 3 Emergence, which is just the Road card. Just not a lot to say about this. I do think the level thing is actually like just irrelevant almost. I didn't make Yazzie once yesterday. I'll make it less and less as like the more I play this deck. So like Yazzie might be something I'll cut in the future. But yeah, this card is just gas, I suppose. Play 3 copies of Desires. You're not really scared about banishing anything. Yeah, so just no reason not to play this card. I think this is like the single best card, like the single card that I want to open in every hand, to be honest, just because it's just free. You get free pluses. You can draw into like good stuff like these cards, and all of these cards are like high impact just on their own. Well, like individually, so like anytime you go like +1, you've got like a good chance of like drawing some of these. So Chalice and Imperm are very similar, where like you go first, or like they're good going first or second, where they're just like good negates. They're both excellent as 6th cards to be able to like pick apart your opponent's field when you go second. Like yeah, the more of these cards that you open when you go second, the more irrelevant it was that your opponent won the die roll, which is really nice. And this card is the card that I wanted to make sure that was in my deck for this tournament, just because I actually think that like in the UK, especially like in the regional sort of like formats, I really do think decks like Invoked are the easiest decks to decide to play. They're very sort of like low risk. You haven't like they're not like intense decks to have to like sort of pilot. So I figured like decks like that would be like more popular, and this is like beautiful against Schism. It's really good against Tikaboo. It's like the only dead deck in the meta that this card like isn't great against at the minute is the Bird deck. But like if I open 5 cards and one of my cards is Cosmic and I'm going second against Birds, this Cosmic is probably not the reason I'm going to lose that game anyway. So I think like this card is just excellent in this deck. It's obviously like really good in the hitting Scythe with it as well. If your opponent is playing Phantom Knights and your opponent tries to DP Scythe you, like this can actually just completely turn their board off, because like after you Cosmic the Scythe, they're forced to DP itself and then another card, and then at that point their board is pretty much empty, and the only thing that they should have at that point is like a Fog Blade maybe. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then last card is just 2 copies of Blackout. I know this is typically a one-of. I personally like really just love like hard opening this card. It makes Mo Yi live like when you go first. It's really nice when you get hand trapped because this is like solid destruction even like when you've stumbled like to make a board. So yeah, I think like this card's fine at 2. I ended up cutting the Reborn spell and the 3rd copy of Tire to get the Cosmics in. I really went off the spell card just because it is just like the very like definition of a win more card basically. And then for the Synchros, we play Ruddy Rose, which I didn't make once, and this is like what I send when my opponent Maximuses me, just because like it's just bad. 1 Baron, which is like the best level 10 I guess. Qing Yang, which is the level 10 that you summon the most just because you are locked into worms a lot of the time. Chi Zhao, this card's like amazing. Like I can't actually like get over the interaction between this card and Mo Yi. So like you synchro into this, you draw a card and then you get to search a card. It's like it's pretty much the same as like Resolve and Engage, and then on the opponent's turn this card is like Widow Anchor as well. 2 copies of Baxia. I made 2 copies. I think every game that I summoned Baxia, I summoned 2. It's just very good. The Yazzie, which obviously didn't come up once. Chao Feng, which I don't think I made once, but I was on my way to make it and I got nibbed on the Baxia, so like it still did its job I guess. And then we played the Tenyi guy that like you just put on your boards when you make Chi Zhao with like the Tenyis, and then this is just like the only good thing that you can make off the normal summon basically. Dragite, which I didn't make at all. Cat. Dragite, which I didn't make at all either. But like he's like pretty good when he comes up. And then we just played Shaman and then just 3 monks. So like I think like one of these monks is cut. Like if you wanted to like change like the extra deck at all to like fit wherever you wanted in, I think you could definitely cut a monk. You could definitely cut Dragite, and I think you could definitely cut the Ruddy Rose. But like there also isn't anything else that you need so much to replace those cards with. So I don't really feel like the need to change it. Like, or like when Ruddy Rose does come up, it's like broken. It just ends the game basically. But for the side deck, I played 3 copies of Nib. This card's just pretty good against everything at the minute because it stops you getting hit by like the floodgate cards. So like you can drop this like after your opponent summoned Dagda, and it means that you won't get scythed. You can drop this after your opponent has summoned Protoss, and then typically when they go through Protoss, they'll do it through the Tenyi combo, so they're locked into worms, so like they can't even stop this with Baron. I do like just really think this card is amazing at the minute. I'd actually like play. I'd main deck this card if like the Tenyis just like didn't just like conflict with it. We played 3 copies of Droll. Like I said, like the deck that I anticipated playing it against the most was Invoke Dogma. So like this card like is the best card against that deck. Yeah, it's also like amazing against the bird deck. I played 2 Kaijus, so this is almost just like a 7th and 8th Chalice or Imperm basically, except for like this card does like get rid of like the statue and stuff when you play against that Flunderies deck. But I think these are like fine. And then I played 1 Duster, 2 Twin and 1 Reboot. I don't think this card is good. I think I might actually replace this with the 3rd Twin Twister. So basically all you really want is you just want stuff that you can chain to Schism, and these are cards that you can, this is a card that you can't, so I think those are like fine though. And then the last cards are just Anti-Spell and Imperial Order for when you go first. These cards are like, because like the Swordsoul board is so weak, you do like really do want to see like one of these Floodgate cards, just because these cards can just like automatically win you the match, and outside of Protoss, which like isn't even good against some decks, you really do want like a Floodgate to just end the game for you. But yeah, that's it for the whole deck profile. So that was the deck profile. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've had any success with like a similar list, especially like if you're not playing DPE, because I'm very much in the camp that I think that this deck is one of the decks that shouldn't play that card. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to check out our sponsor TCG Access. The link will be in the description. So thank you.